Okay. Okay, so we're recording. I'll then do the countdown and then I'll intro. Well, then we'll start, yeah?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, let me just take a sip of water quickly. Yeah, my throat's a little scratchy today. So I
It's
might just
going
have
on.
to mute the audio every once in a while. If you see me coughing in the background, like just carry on, just ignore me.
No problem.
I'll mute the audio. Okay, so we can start in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Her Expat Life. We are the YouTube channel that is dedicated to bringing you inspiration, education, and advice about living and loving abroad as female entrepreneurs, digital nomads, and expats. So, as you know by now, we are a global boutique mobility firm that provides services to women who live and love abroad, whether they are entrepreneurs, creatives, professionals, or investors. And today we are deep diving into a topic that has gotten a lot of attention, particularly in the last few weeks, and we'll discuss a little bit of why that is. But if you are an American citizen looking to move to Spain and you don't know where to start, or you are completely overwhelmed by the bureaucratic system, then today's video is for you. So we are very lucky to have with us in studio a representative from Entre Trámites, which is Her Expat Life's partner. And we are speaking to Katherine today. And Katherine is the director of the legal department at Entre Trámites, and she's an expert in immigration and foreign affairs. She has extensive experience in immigration law and a deep understanding of the Spanish legal system. She specializes in providing personalized advice and solutions for individuals and businesses navigating the complexities of the immigration process in Spain. And just to give you an idea, Entre Trámites provides a host of different services, including, particularly under immigration, residence and work permits, legal documentation, international protection, and advisory services. So, Katherine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's great always to speak about my one true original love, which is immigrating.
Okay, so before we get into today's questions, what I love about the team at Entre Trámites, as myself being an expat who is living in Barcelona, is most of the people on your team themselves are expats. So they've lived through the experience of bureaucracy in Spain, which is a nightmare. So can you
Yes.
tell us a bit about just your personal journey? Where are you originally from and how long ago did you come to Spain?
Of course. So I was born in Puerto Rico, so I'm from the United States also. And I came here now, counting back, around 10 years ago to study law here. So we all know how much it costs to study law in Spain. So when I was looking at two options, my family came from here, so I thought, hey, might as well give it a try. I fell in love with the country, and then I stayed. So with it came a lot of problems, starting from the consulate. Some of the things is the information online is not up to date. The information given to you by the consulates is not usually correct, not all of the time. So I had a lot of problems that thankfully they were resolved. I am here now. I am a lawyer. I am basically free and out of it. So, but it does uh, give us certainly an understanding of how difficult it is. Especially as you said, the bureaucracy in Spain is very, very different, and especially very different from the United States. Like we may have a lot of problems, but one of the things that we do is that this is the line, this is where you get in, this is where you end up. You come
Yeah.
to Spain, and that's not it.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the most surprising things for me moving to Spain was I just thought Europe and everything in Europe must function perfectly. Do you know what I mean? Like the Europeans have it all figured out. And then I moved here and I was like, wow, the bureaucratic system is like stuck in the 80s. Now things are a little bit better since the pandemic. Things have moved to a digital platform, but still it's really, really difficult to get anything done. And then you add language barriers into that, and it's a complete nightmare. So today we have kind of compiled a list of the most frequently asked questions from Americans who are looking to move to Spain. And since the results of the election, there has been a sharp increase in the amount of Americans looking to relocate, and Spain is a hot destination. It's quite affordable, the lifestyle's good, the weather is good. So there are a lot of queries about this. So today, Catherine, you're going to help us just to give people a little bit of an understanding of what they need to consider when they are making this big move. So I think let's start off with the first question, which is, can you provide an overview of the most common legal challenges Americans face when they are moving to Spain?
Okay, so one of the things about it, which ends up being a legal challenge, but it's not directly one, is the slower pace and the technology use. So we're used to that if the administration tells you 30 days, it's 30 days. No, here take into consideration that 30 days could mean 6 months, 9 months, a year. So that is the first thing that you have to do. You, as the immigrant, have to always comply with the time, but they don't have to. So that is the first thing, that to understand and plan accordingly, and also to take a very big breath during the whole process because you're gonna need it,
Yeah.
and move forward. The other things is understanding the visa requirements. So one of the things is some visas are still new. So while the immigration experts already have it down, sometimes the funcionario, which is the person who's going to approve or deny your visa, doesn't necessarily, because you never know how long they work. So you have to be very sure about your visa, because if it's the correct one, it can always be fought and if approved. But if it's the wrong one, then it's not like they're gonna come at you and tell you, "Hey, this one wasn't it, but why don't you try this one?" Sometimes you are here already, you had the time, and then you have to suddenly go back to the United States and get it approved from there.
Mhm.
So very important. As a shameless plug, Entre Trámites would be happy to help you. But if it's not with us, please look for someone who understands it, because you're gonna need it.
Mhm.
The other thing is the residency procedures. So it's not only getting your visa. You have to get an ID once you're here if you're gonna be staying here over 6 months. If you don't get that ID, it may be that they terminate your visa and they never tell you. So you're just suddenly here illegally, you have no idea. So understand the process that you need to do after the visa. The language barrier is also a big one. While in the rest of the European Union, English it is a very big language, in Spain it's not. So take that into consideration. Google Translate and all that is going to be your best friend for some time, because
Yeah.
that's going to be it. Also, employment restrictions, that has to do with the visa, with the type of visa that you are. Not every type of visa lets you work the same. So be very careful about that, depending on how long you want to stay here and what you want to do for here. And of course, taxation.
Mm.
Taxation is a very big deal, especially because for that, the Spanish is very, very good. They don't always come on time, but they will find a way to tax you later on. It may be
Yeah.
10 years from now, but they will come.
Yeah.
And of course, the last major thing, which was my greatest issue, has nothing to do with legal, but it does come into effect, is the business hours.
Mm.
So usually here, Friday is a lot of places don't work. Uh, the office is open until 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and they
Mhm.
open from 10. So it's not like you can go early. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of small little things that suddenly will make everything more hard than it should be.
I think you gave a really good overview. I couldn't agree more with all the points that you mentioned. And things are slow, things are frustrating, but the one department you can always rely on to be efficient is the tax department. So
Exactly.
that is very, very true. Okay, so you spoke a bit about visas. Let's dive into this topic. So, what types of visas are available for Americans looking to move to Spain, and how do you decide which visa is the right one for you?
Okay, so first of all, we have the oldie but the goodie, which is the non-lucrative visa. The non-lucrative visa is good for people who are planning on retiring in Spain, or for people who are planning to first decide if they want to stay in Spain and want to open the business later on. So, very important thing about the non-lucrative visa, you're always gonna have to apply from the country of origin. So, in case of most of your viewers, from the United States, and then come into Spain. It's good, as I said, for people who retire, because this visa does not allow you to work. However, after you've been here for 1 year, you can modify it to a visa that it allows you to open your own work or to work for someone else. So it's also a good visa for planning. But very important, you have to have the funds already on this visa, or it has to be passive funds, because you cannot work even for a company in the United States while in Spain. You're not able to. The other, and a visa that is sometimes used also as a catch-all, is the student visa. Is one of the most easy to get. You can come here to study. So basically, if you don't have any other options or any other fast options, you get a visa to study. Masters usually are around 1 year. Some of the student visas do allow you to work up to 30 hours a week. So if there's no other option, we always say, hey, do you want to study in Spain? Like, you get a master's. It is also a visa that's modifiable after to a work visa. So it may not be the longest way, but sometimes it is the most straightforward way in all of the bureaucracy that is Spain. Now, we have the normal work visas, which, I'm going to be honest, it's going to be a pain for most people. So the
Yeah.
normal work visas are done by the immigration offices and by the consulate. Again, have to be done from the country of origin. And both of them are very, very hard to get, because if it's you're going to be working for someone else, first you have to have someone who's willing to contract you. And not only that, who's willing to wait 6 to 7 months so that you're able to come into the country to work. Second, if you're not on this list, who is very up to date, sarcasm here, who is, if you're not on a list of the job professions, the workplace has to ask permission to the town hall, basically to hire you. And this is all before you started the visa process.
Mm.
And then it takes around 5 to 6 months to get it approved, even though supposedly it's 3 months. Then you have, if you're going to open your own work, your own job here, you have to have a very, very good plan. And even if you have a very good plan, it may still be denied. It's also done from country of origin. So again, come to 6 to 7 months until you even start. And then the process is, they sometimes, immigration have this happy little thing about asking you for permits. And the answer to that is, how? I cannot there. I can't get permits. I don't have an immigration permit to get the working permit.
Yeah.
So I says, not definitely not the easiest visas to get.
Am I correct in saying that this works for people who are highly, highly specialized in very like particular industries where maybe you are like a leading world expert in one particular thing? It's more oriented at these kinds of individuals. Am I
It's not
right?
supposed to be, but it is what it ends up being.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
the idea was for these two visas to actually just be like open for everyone, but there had to be certain requirements that make it so that it's not.
Yeah.
And then you have the highly professional visa, which allows you to do that. It's for highly specialized people, and also allows you to apply from Spain. And it has a 20-day, and it actually is a 20-day that they give you an answer. If the answer is not given, it's an automatic yes. So it makes the normal work visas kind of be a non-factor. It's better
Yeah.
to go for the other ones.
Okay.
Same if you want to open a business here. We have the entrepreneurship visa. So you're basically go through the UG. So visas can be either applied through immigration or through the UGE, Unidad Grandes Empresas. It depends on the type of visa. You sadly don't get to choose. Then the entrepreneurship visa also has a 20-day to 3 months of an answer. And it is easier in the terms of the line that you have to go, but it's for highly specialized business. It's businesses who basically have no competition here, and you also have to have a very good plan.
Yeah.
So it makes it difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one that is sadly going to be gone soon is, which is the golden visa. We think that around January is going to be gone, but it was basically a visa for investors. It also allowed you to work. But yeah, politics is what it is, and they've decided to do away
Yeah.
with that.
What about the digital nomad visa?
Oh, of
That's
course,
that's a recent one, yeah?
it is a recent one. It's the baby, you're right. And so the digital nomad visa, it's done by the UG. So again, very good 20-day answer, 20 working day answer, of course, but 20-day answer. If not, it's an automatic yes, and you can do it from Spain. So the thing about the digital nomad visa is you have to be very sure about the type of employment that you're going to be here. Because if you're working for another company, if you're working directly for another company as a normal worker, it may be difficult to get if you don't have a certificate of coverage, because the company has to register for the purposes of Social Security here in Spain, which
Mm.
is, it's easy, but it's a lot of steps that most people don't like. Most companies don't want to take.
Mm-hmm.
If you decide to get the certificate of coverage, which, if I remember correctly, is called the E1 in the United States, um, you have to be very, very careful about how the administration in the United States fills it out, because usually they make a mistake, which is the company, they say it like the company is going to be in Spain, and then it gets rejected, so the visa gets rejected.
Mm.
If you're gonna be a freelancer, it's easier because then you're the one that pays your taxes, your social security, everything. But it doesn't mean that you don't get access to backups law. The
Mm-hmm.
easiest way to get digital nomad visa is definitely as an autonomo, as a freelancer,
It's a
but it
freelance.
ends up being the most expensive one.
Mm.
Oh, and
Mm-hmm.
very important. If you are a freelancer, you still have to have a contract with a company. So it has you have to have at least a contract with at least one company, an SL or something. It can be just at their normal clients that you have. At least one of them needs to have an SL or an SA, meaning that they have a certificate of incorporation.
Mm. So you need to have like some proof of ongoing work from this one particular client,
That's
basically.
correct.
Yeah.
For at
Okay.
least 3 months.
Okay. And there's also, I believe, a minimum earnings that you need to make in order to qualify. Yeah.
32,000 a year.
32,000 a year.
Which is going to change soon because every year, like the SMI, so the minimum salary goes up in Spain, which means all of those also go up accordingly.
Hmm. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the residency permits. So, can you tell us about the process? How long does it take, and what are the different steps that someone needs to be mindful of?
Okay. So the process is going to depend on the visa that you're going to get. So if you do it from through the UG, it's usually 20 working days, 10 if you're doing it from the country of origin, because you also have to count, sorry, 30 total, because you also have to count that you have to go to the consulate to get your visa done. If you're doing it through immigration, 3 months to six, sometimes nine, depending on the visa, and definitely has to be done through the country of origin. So the first step that you have to do is make sure that you're doing the correct visa for yourself and get all of the documents. And what I mean all of the documents is all of the documents that you have your certificate, your FBI certificate, sorry, criminal record, that you have, if you're bringing family members, that you have their documents ready, that you have your pay slips, that you have your bank accounts where you receive those payments. Also, if there's a lot in those payments, it's usually good to market the ones that receive the payslip so there's no confusion. It's all about going all the documents and making it as easy as possible so that the one person who's going to approve or deny your visa doesn't have to look for a lot. They can just go, okay, the person meets his requirements, perfect. So if you're going through the consulate, so let's go with the longer process. If you're going to the consulate, first thing that you got to get is an appointment for the consulate.
Hmm.
Sometimes there is a BLS, which is basically an intermediary between you and the consulate. So check with the consulate if they have that intermediary. Like around half of the consulates already in the United States use it, which means that you're not going to be dealing directly with the consulate, you're going to be dealing with them. So you're going to have to give an appointment with them, you're going to have to bring them the paperwork, and then they pass it on to the consulate. So
Hmm.
the first thing, get an appointment. Then on that appointment, go with all of the documents. If there's one document missing, around 90% of the consulates are just not going to receive the documents. So get the appointment and then distract yourself for the next 3 to 6 months. Distract yourself and also pay a lot of attention to your email in case that they send you because there's a document that's missing or something like that. Uh, they're going to give you a document stating that the file was received. So keep that in a safe place because that's going to have the number that you're going to need to check every once in a while. But as I said, do think that this process is going to be 3 to 6 months. So arm yourself with patience. Don't despair. It will eventually be all over.
Hmm.
So once you have your visa, you come into Spain. And then you have the process of your TIA card, which is another fun process because you'll have to get another appointment, which is again hard to get.
Very hard to get. Yes, very, very hard to get. Hmm.
So you get that appointment, you go on that first day with again the list of documents that you need. They receive again all of the documents, or they're not going to receive it. They receive it, they take your fingerprints, very important, the photos, a white background, because they will not receive it if it's not a white background. Pay your administrative fee before that, bring them all the documents, and 45 days after, you come back to get your TA. And then when you're finally done with the process, at least until you have to renew it again.
And when would you need to renew it? How long does it last for?
So depends on the visa. Where the ones with the UG usually last around 3 years if done from Spain, 1 year if done from outside of Spain. The ones from immigration, the first ones always last a year. So your card is going to be an expiration date. You can start the renewal process 60 days before. They also give you the options to do it 90 days after in case something happens. And it's not like you have to give them why you couldn't do it on the 60 days before, but they can fine you for this. So it's better to do it the 60 days before and than the 90 days after.
Mhm. Okay, another common question is about renting apartments, right? So, what are the legal precautions that people should take when they are renting an apartment or house in Spain?
Okay, so the major thing is how the contract is written. So, because of recent legislation here in Spain, a lot of places that are contracting apartments are renting out apartments have decided that they're going to put in the contract that it's going to be a vacational home or a temporary home, or that you can use it as your primary residence. That would be fine if you didn't need to make an empadronamiento.
Can you
So
explain to people what that is in case they don't know?
yes, sure. An empadronamiento is a registry. You basically go to the town hall that is assigned to you depending on where you live. So you go to the town hall, you give them the contract, you give them some information, and you tell them, "Hey, I'm going to be living here for X amount of time." Usually, it's every 2 years, immigrant has to have to renew it. If you're Spanish, you don't have to renew it, but every 2 years you have to as an immigrant. Every time you it's a very simple process, but every time you move from the house, not from the community, from the house, you have to do an empadronamiento.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's usually that one is something that takes you like 2 or 3 days. It's not, thankfully, one of our most
Yes,
difficult process.
yes.
What makes it difficult is the type of contracts that says temporary or that says that this is not your primary residence. So you can only have your empadronamiento in your primary residence. So if that contract says that, it means that you're not going to be able to get the empadronamiento. Why is the empadronamiento important? Not only because it's the law and you have to do it, but because with that empadronamiento, you cannot get your TIA card or your Spanish ID. So it is very important to do that. Also, very, very important because there's scams all over. Most places won't ask for money to show you a place, to show you an
Mm,
apartment. So
mm,
they shouldn't, but they charge you after you have signed the contract, but never before. The law again states that as the renter, you shouldn't pay the person who's showing you the apartment after you make the contract.
the
However,
agency fees, am I right?
exactly.
Yeah, it's changed not too long ago. Yeah. Hmm.
It has changed. Agencies are still doing it with how the market it is and how the competition. Most people at the end of it end up paying it just because, well, they need a place to stay. Just know
Yeah.
that you shouldn't. We understand when you do because sometimes things are like what it is. But if they're
Yeah.
asking you for money to see an apartment, that is definitely a scam. We're not
Hmm.
going.
Hmm. Hmm. And how can people make sure that their rental contracts are valid, legal, following rules? How can people cover themselves? Is it important to get a lawyer? Is there an easier way to do things?
There's always an easier way to do things, and the reality is pages like Idealista give you a mock-up contract that you can check if they're basically the same, but also it's very general. So there are a lot of different things, which is better to just go look at the lawyer, pay the fee, or look, this is the contract. Can you please check it? Because they're gonna be able to check. if they're asking you for the correct amount for the fianza, if
Yeah.
they're telling you, because sometimes obviously people are going to look for out for themselves and they're going to be like, okay, whatever's wrong with the house, you're the one that has to take care of it. That's not the truth. Like the law says differently. So it's a lot of these little different things that people try to slip in the contracts, which at the end, if it's against the law, it's against the law. It's just that, do you really want to go into court
Yeah.
case to fix that when you can just have a lawyer review it before, review the contract, and make sure that even if you have to sign it, because again, things happen, sometimes people have to accept what that is, but even if you have to do it, you at least know what you're signing. You at least know that this clause is against the law, this one shouldn't be like this.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, now to my favorite topic, and a lot of people's favorite topic, the tax system. Okay, so can you just try to explain to our American audience how does the Spanish tax system work and how will it affect them? And is there a double taxation agreement between Spain and America?
Mhm. Okay, so how would it affect them? A lot, especially with how we're used to the taxation. Okay, but first, you have to be in Spain for over 183 days in a natural year. So we're talking from January 1st to December 31st to be considered a tax resident in Spain. There are reasons why you can be considered a tax resident from less than that, but most people will go with the general rule, which is 183 days. If you haven't met the 183 days, you're probably not going to have to pay taxes in Spain or even recorded taxes. Do we have a treaty of double taxation with the United States? Thank God we do.
Hmm.
Which will mean that you are not going to be paying double the taxes. You're still going to be paying taxes in both countries. So you have to report the taxes in the United States. You have to report the taxes in Spain. Since Spain is the higher tax bracket, what they're going to do is whatever you paid in the United States gets deducted from the one in Spain. But then this is why it's very important to get your taxes done in the United States as soon as you can, because those documents you have to give to Spain so that they see that you have paid your taxes and how much you've paid, so that then they deduct it. On top of that, we have the wealth tax, which Spain taxes higher net individuals. So that is something that we're not used to from the United States. Just because you make more, you get taxed more. So this is where you get a gestor who is not only familiar with that your situation is that you're an American. This is one of the reasons why we have specialties not only in Spain but also in American tax services, because they're
Yeah.
gonna need to be someone who knows what to do best for you in both sides.
Mm.
So it's more of a group effort in this case than just having someone in the United States and someone in Spain,
Mhm.
because depending how much you pay in the United States, you can then get deducted here, so at least you don't have to pay that double taxation.
Mhm. And then can you just briefly mention what is the Beckham law? Because this is something people might hear about a lot, and
Mhm.
we know who David Beckham is, but we might not know what the law means. So, what is the Beckham law?
Okay, so the Beckham law was actually named, like, it's not obviously the official name. We didn't go that far, but it's actually a named after David Beckham. So the story there is that Real Madrid really, really wanted David Beckham, and David Beckham really, really did not want to pay higher taxes. So
Mhm.
of course we had to create a law for him, which, funnily enough, now football players can't use it. Other people can, but football players cannot use it.
Oh,
They
the
have it.
irony.
They're fine. They have another tax law, and they also have the Mbappé that's coming in for Madrid soon, so they're definitely fine.
Okay.
But yeah, so this what this law does is that it makes it so that you're only taxed at 24% across the board. Obviously, this is not good for everyone, because the tax in Spain starts at 19%, ends up at 47, and it's taxed little by little. So it's not that if you are in the 47, you're gonna get taxed everything at the 47%.
Mhm.
So, but people who obviously have higher incomes, our recommendation is if you make more than 60K a year, at the very least, have a conversation to someone about getting the Beckham's Law, because it may be that you need it. Or
Mhm.
if you have more than 10K in property outside of Spain. Why
Mhm.
is this? Because again, you're going to have the 24% across the board into almost €1 million. So it's definitely good, that you're going to be paying less taxes, and your income that you make while outside of Spain, so everything that you have outside of Spain doesn't get taxed. So you only get taxed for what you're making here in Spain. The problem with the backups law is you can't be a freelancer. So our wonderful CEO Louis Williams has legal ways around this. One of them is a way to create a company, and Gabriela de la Cruz, his right hand, and him like work on this a lot. But because most people want to be freelancers here, but then being a freelancer means no backups law.
Mm.
So, but just know there are ways around it. There are ways for specific type of people, and you have to meet specific types of requirement. If you're definitely gonna be making over that, it's definitely good to at least have that talk, because 24% in rate is very good compared to, it's difficult as an American to say 24% is very, very good, but it is
It is
compared to what
European
you're
standard.
making.
Yes,
Yeah,
European standard. It's great.
exactly. You want that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
also the fact that you don't get taxed from anything outside of
Mhm.
it. Mhm.
Let's talk a little bit to maybe our older audiences. So, people who are retirees or close to retirement age, what should they know about transferring their pensions or accessing Social Security benefits whilst
Yeah.
living in Spain?
So the United States and Spain does have an agreement that allows retirees to combine contributions from both systems. It has to be looked at the requirements people by people, because the requirements are general, but there are specific requirements that need to be met. But it is an option that is there. Pension is the permit, international transfers, etc. So you can come here with a non-lucrative, you can receive your pension, it's not going to be an issue. You can be part of the Social Security. Well, I say it's not going to be an issue, it's not, it's going to be a long road, but it's not going to be an issue. So you can be part of it, of the Social Security system, have access to the Social Security system here, which is very good. I still do also, because again of appointments, recommend having healthcare insurance, which this, for the prices in the United States, is actually very good here, private health insurance prices. So we still do recommend it, but there is an agreement that will allow most people to contribute to both systems and then have access to both.
Okay, and then talking about the healthcare system, what is the process for Americans to access Spain's public healthcare system? And you've mentioned insurance, private insurance, but is it necessary?
So it's only necessary if you're here as a student.
Mm.
Students are not considered residents, so they have to have private health insurance. After that, if you're working here, either for yourself or for another company, they're going to be paying into the Social Security system, so you have access to it. Even with the digital nomad, if you are a freelancer. If you're a freelancer, you're going to be paying a monthly into the Social Security system, so you have access to it. If you're not a freelancer, if you work for another company, it will depend if you have the certificate of coverage. If you have the certificate of coverage, then you are covered by the public health care. If not, then you have to get private health insurance. So all of this to say, digital nomads who don't have certificate of coverage and are working for another company, and students don't have access to public health care. The
Okay.
rest will have access. How do I get access to public health care? So basically, the second you are already paying into the administration, you have access to it. And I'm not talking emergency access. Like, emergency access is there for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the normal. You get an appointment with the doctor, you have to go every once in a while, etc. So you have access to it. You need the TSI, which is called Tarjeta Sanitaria Individual. So that one, after you already have your contract, you're already given the alta, so you're already in the system as working, either as a freelancer or as a worker. You then go to request that. Depending on where you live, you can do it online, or you have to go the old-fashioned way to the hospital closest to you and go to the administrator and say, "Hi, can I please have my card?"
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Like, Spain, at the very least, will get you back to the supposedly good old times where nothing was on the internet.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but again, that is for normal health care system. Like, in terms of emergencies, something happens to you, you're always going to be like, this is like, I tell the story of my grandfather who was here with me. He was on vacation with me, and we were in Barcelona. So I don't live in Barcelona. We were in Barcelona, and he had issues with his diabetes. He was fine. He was just on vacation, so thankfully it wasn't like we needed to make sure that nobody knew when he was here. But I entered through that hospital with me. No one asked me if he had a sanitary card. No one asked me absolutely anything about that. They took care of him. They made sure that he was okay. And then after is that they asked me, "Hey, do you happen to have?" And we did have health insurance, travel and health insurance, and we were fine. But then it was just, "Do you happen to not?" If not, probably, to be honest, depending on the person, would have let you walk away, not even ask for anything more. And even if they
Yeah.
do, hospitalization here is definitely not as expensive as in the United States.
No, I think that's one very, very clear, big differentiator between the lifestyles, like just the perspective of healthcare here and
Hmm.
access to healthcare. But for certain things, it might be easier if you don't like waiting in the system for things to get done. Maybe you're the kind of person that should get private healthcare, but you'll be okay even if you don't have it, like you said.
Yes.
Okay, as we get closer to wrapping up today's interview, I think I just have maybe two or three more questions for you. If someone is looking to come to Spain and bring family members or dependents with them, like what advice do you have for them?
Okay. The first thing is to again make very very sure of the type of visa that you're gonna get, because not type all type of visas lets you bring family members, and some of them makes it so that even if you could have it from here in Spain, you have to actually apply with your family members from outside of it. The example for this is the student visa. So student visas now you can apply from Spain. That wasn't always the case. You can apply from Spain, but if you're coming with family members, your family members have to apply from the consulate. So it's better for all of you to apply.
Mhm.
Other visas, like the ones that go to the UG, so Unidad de Grandes Empresas, you can apply with the family members here in Spain, obviously while you're all in your tourist days. So what's the digital nomad, the emprendedor visa, the highly professional qualified, those your family members can also apply from Spain. If you're going to a normal work visa, so that one, the one that you already have to do from the country of origin, your family members can't apply yet for the country of origin. You have to be here 1 year working for you to be able to get them in. Once your next renewal is done, then they can apply from the country of origin.
Mhm.
This does have a caveat, which is if you came here as a student with the family members already with you, if you're going to modify to a work visa, obviously they don't have to go back to the country of origin. They can modify it with you directly, but you have had to bring them here on your first original student visa.
Okay. And then, just very quickly before we wrap up today, what are the most common mistakes you see Americans making during their relocation process, and how can they avoid them?
So sadly, one of them is trusting the consulate.
Mm,
The reality is that things change sometimes fast in immigration, but the information doesn't go as quickly as it should to other people. So
mm,
do have a consults like I'm sure we're not the only ones. I know we're the best, but we're not the only ones that have, for example, free consultations.
yeah.
So if you see that, make use of it, because sometimes trusting what the consulate will tell you is problematic, which I also have a personal story. Like when I came here 10 years ago, you couldn't do student visas from Spain. The
Mhm.
consulate told me differently. So I came here, it was already accepted, I was already fine. I thought I would just have to go to the immigration office and get that done. And I remember again my grandfather in everything. This most of my traumatic stories in Spain have my grandfather as part of it. I remember going out of that office because that very, very dry person told me no. And I asked, what can I do? And she's like, I don't know. I remember crying my heart out. Thankfully, we could resolve it and it could be done. But trust in the consulate sometimes is a mistake. I'll look for more information, like a research. Go to people who work on this, who are expert of this, because this is their job.
Mm,
The other thing is not understanding your tax obligations. After a year here in Spain, you definitely need to understand at least the key dates that you have to take care of. Because, as we said before, that is the one administration that will always make sure to come.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is overlooking your healthcare system. Like, we think, oh, we're in the European Union, everything is great, like it's gonna be done, I don't have to do anything. Like, it is great. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, it is a great healthcare system. I have no problems with it, but it still needs steps to be able to access that. So
Yeah.
it's not the heaven that we just landed in Spain and all our healthcare issues are resolved. No, we have to take steps into to be able to get that covered.
Mm-hmm. Amazing, Catherine. Before we say goodbye to you, can you just remind us exactly how Entre Trámites can assist Americans with every step of their move to Spain?
Of course. So basically, we can bring you from the beginning to the end of this. Like, I always joke to my, especially my American clients, that they're gonna see me for the next 10 years. Then they get nationality and they can forget about me, but not about the rest of the company. Because we're gonna bring you from the beginning to your from your visa or your permit, whether that be from the consulate or that be directly here from Spain. And before that, we're gonna help you choose the type of visa that is more realistic for your options. Then after that, we get you through the getting the empadronamiento and the TA process, and then we move on to everybody's favorite topic, tax. So we help you make sure that you're paying the least amount as possible. If you need anything business related that you have to need contracts, especially people who are suddenly like creating their own company here or are going to contract people, that we can help you with that part of our labor department about making sure that the people you're contracting, you're doing it the correct way, or if you're going to have commercial agreements and all of that same thing. And of course, the important healthcare. So we can make sure that you have your TSI or your European card if you're going to be traveling and all of that. So basically,
Amazing,
one stop
Catherine.
shop.
One stop shop, a one stop trusted shop that can really guide you through the process. As the listeners at home should know by now, Entre Trámites is a partner of Expat Life, which means people who are part of our membership program get, I believe it's a 10% discount on all services. So make sure to visit her expatlife.com/membership and join up to our membership program where you can enjoy discounts with not only Entre Trámites, but a range of our global partners from co-working to co-living spaces. You picture it, we've got them as partners. So we will include in the description box below also how you can access and speak to the Entre Trámites team. There are over 90, I believe, people working at Entre
Yes.
Trámites, many, many consultants ready to speak to you. Today we had a whole bunch of questions we didn't get through because this topic, we could talk for days about this topic.
We could.
But we strongly encourage our American audience to please drop whatever questions you have about the immigration process in the comment section. And we will definitely have Catherine and the team back on a regular basis to talk through whatever bureaucratic changes are happening, whatever processes we need to discuss with them. So please help us and guide us with your feedback. What do you have to ask and what are your burning questions? And the Entre Trámites team, with her Expat Life together, will work on bringing you the correct, most up to date information. So, Catherine, thank you so much to you and your team for always being super available to chat with us. And we look forward to having you back soon.
Thank you for having me. We would be delighted.
Thank you so much. For the listeners at home, just a quick reminder, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, follow us on Instagram, follow us on social media, and visit our website, herexpatlife.com, to get a full understanding of all of our services. And until next time, take care. Okay.